The contemporary sports media landscape presents a striking paradox. While audiences are immersed in a quote-unquote golden age of content, the foundational practice of traditional, in-depth sports journalism is rapidly eroding. Viewership for sports talk shows is reaching new records, and athletes themselves produce a constant stream of behind-the-scenes content through podcasts and documentaries. Yet, this proliferation of content masks a systemic decline in accountability journalism. Major news organizations, once the bedrock of sports reporting, are in retreat. The New York Times has dissolved its sports desk. The Los Angeles Times has laid off numerous sports reporters and ceased daily coverage. And the iconic Sports Illustrated has undergone mass layoffs, casting its future into doubt. This decline is driven by severe economic pressures. The digital age has decimated the advertising revenues that once sustained print journalism, forcing a pivot to a model funded by quote-unquote click count. This new reality incentivizes the production of shorter, opinion-driven pieces designed to generate immediate engagement, while discouraging the costly, time-consuming investigative work that holds powerful institutions accountable. This has created a power imbalance of staggering proportions. Sports leagues and their franchises, valued in the hundreds of billions of dollars, now wield immense influence over the media outlets that depend on them for broadcast rights and access. This financial codependency creates a powerful disincentive for outlets to pursue stories that might jeopardize these lucrative relationships. Consequently, many journalists opt to remain in a quote-unquote comfort zone, avoiding topics that might provoke backlash from powerful organizations or their fiercely loyal fan bases. The Protagonist, a journalist against the grain. It is within this challenging environment that the work of journalist Pablo Torre in his podcast, Pablo Torre Finds Out, emerges as a critical counter-narrative. Operating as a form of independent, watchdog journalism, Torre's investigation into the Los Angeles Clippers represents a model of reporting that has become increasingly rare. The power of his work lies in its meticulous, evidence-based methodology. This is not a story built on anonymous whispers or hot takes. It is founded upon mountains of documents. Torre and his team unearthed over 3,000 pages of exclusive materials, including court filings and financial records, and corroborated this evidence with testimony from high-level sources inside the involved companies. This documentary foundation makes the reporting exceptionally serious and difficult for the accused parties to dismiss. The very structure of the modern media landscape that has crippled traditional newsrooms has, in a way, enabled Torre's success. Unbeholden to a legacy media giant's complex financial relationship with the NBA, his independent platform, produced by Meadowlark Media, afforded him the freedom to pursue a story that others might have been pressured to ignore. He leveraged this independence by strategically releasing his findings in a slow drip reveal across multiple podcast episodes. This tactic was designed to build and sustain public pressure, keeping the story in the news cycle long enough to prevent it from being buried, a necessary strategy in today's fractured and fast-moving media environment. A history of suspicion. The recruitment of Kawhi Leonard. The allegations of salary cap circumvention do not exist in a vacuum. They are layered upon a pre-existing history of suspicions surrounding the Clippers' recruitment of superstar Kawhi Leonard and the aggressive tactics of his advisor and uncle, Dennis Robertson. During Leonard's 2019 free agency, executives from rival teams alleged that Robertson had sought impermissible benefits during their negotiations. These demands reportedly included part ownership of the team, a house, a private jet, and guaranteed off-court endorsement money, all of which would violate NBA rules. This history was further illuminated by a lawsuit filed by Johnny Wilkes, who alleged that the late Clippers consultant Jerry West had reneged on a verbal promise to pay him $2.5 million for his help in luring Leonard to the team. While the lawsuit was ultimately dismissed in August 2022 because the judge found no evidence of an enforceable contract, its proceedings brought forth intriguing details. Most notably, an alleged voicemail from West was made public in which he disparaged the rival Lakers, suggesting that back-channel conversations were indeed taking place. Though legally inconclusive, the Wilkes case served as a crucial piece of narrative foreshadowing. It normalized in the public consciousness the idea that illicit benefits and side deals were part of the conversation surrounding Leonard's arrival, establishing a pattern of behavior that makes the far more complex allegations uncovered by Torre seem more plausible. the perfect front. Clean Rich is the new Filthy Rich, the aspiration story. The vehicle for the alleged salary cap circumvention scheme was a company named Aspiration, a California-based financial technology startup that presented itself as a climate-friendly green bank. Its public-facing mission was to help individuals and corporations fight the climate crisis by offering services to offset their carbon footprint, primarily through tree planting initiatives. The company's slogan was, "Clean Rich is the new Filthy Rich." Aspiration cultivated a powerful veneer of legitimacy and social consciousness. It was publicly backed by A-list Hollywood celebrities, including Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert Downey Jr., and has successfully raised hundreds of millions of dollars in venture capital. This branding was essential. It positioned Aspiration not as a dubious shell corporation, but as a progressive, high-profile, and seemingly unimpeachable entity. This choice of partner was a form of sports washing by another name, providing the perfect ethical camouflage for a potentially unethical financial arrangement. By associating with a green company, the parties involved acquired a shield of social and ethical capital that could deflect suspicion. The good cause provided cover for the alleged bad act, the Ballmer connection. The relationship between the Clippers and Aspiration began with a series of massive, public-facing financial transactions that, on their own, seemed perfectly plausible. In September 2021, an LLC controlled by Clippers owner Steve Ballmer made a substantial personal investment of $50 million into Aspiration. Just weeks later, the Clippers organization announced its own massive partnership with the company, a $300 million sponsorship deal that would see the Aspiration logo featured prominently. From the outside, this appeared to be a standard, if exceptionally large, business relationship. A tech billionaire and NBA owner investing in a trendy, California-based green technology company that would, in turn, become a major sponsor for his team. The synergy was clear, and the narrative was clean, the secret deal. However, behind this public partnership, Pablo Torre's investigation uncovered a clandestine agreement. In April 2022, Aspiration signed an undisclosed 4-year, $28 million endorsement contract with KL2 Aspire LLC, a limited liability company managed by Kawhi Leonard. The very existence of this deal was a secret. It was never announced publicly, which is the first and most significant red flag for what was supposedly a brand endorsement. Further reporting by Torre revealed the deal was even larger than the initial documents suggested. High-level sources stated that Aspiration's co-founder, Joe Sandberg, had also guaranteed Leonard an additional $20 million in company equity. This brought the total potential value of the side deal to approximately $48 million. The proximity of this figure to Steve Ballmer's initial $50 million personal investment is striking. It suggests that Ballmer's investment may not have been a typical venture capital play, but rather the seed money intended from the outset to fund the Leonard side deal, a financial maneuver Torre's sources described as money taking a round trip. The terms of the secret contract with Leonard were, by any objective measure, absurd. The $28 million cash value alone vastly exceeded Leonard's legitimate and public endorsement deal with shoe company New Balance. More damningly, it was reportedly more than 4 times the combined amount Aspiration paid to all of its other celebrity endorsers, a list that included global stars with far greater marketing pull than the notoriously private Leonard. This astronomical, above-market valuation is a key piece of circumstantial evidence for salary cap circumvention, as NBA rules prohibit payments that cannot rationally be explained in the absence of an attempt to circumvent the cap. Furthermore, the contract appeared to be for a no-show job. Despite the massive payout, Leonard performed no discernible public promotional work for Aspiration. When confronted at a media day, Leonard dismissed the allegations as clickbait and insisted that his work for the company was simply not public, though he provided no specifics. The most critical piece of evidence, however, was the reported clause within the contract itself. The agreement would allegedly void all payments if Leonard were to leave the Clippers. This provision directly links the endorsement compensation to Leonard's status as a player for that specific team, which is the textbook definition of a prohibited salary supplement. A house of cards collapses. The entire arrangement was predicated on Aspiration's continued existence and perceived legitimacy. That foundation proved to be rotten. While the secret deal with Leonard was active, Aspiration was a fraudulent enterprise. Its co-founder, Joe Sandberg, would later plead guilty to 2 counts of wire fraud for a scheme that defrauded investors out of $248 million. The company was hemorrhaging cash and was functionally insolvent, making it financially impossible for it to have ever legitimately afforded a $28 million celebrity endorsement deal. The spectacular collapse of Aspiration is the only reason the alleged scheme came to light. Had the company succeeded, the payments to Leonard would have been a rounding error in a multi multi-billion-dollar enterprise, easily justifiable as a marketing expense. Instead, Aspiration's failure triggered bankruptcy proceedings. In those public filings, KL2 Aspire LLC was listed as a creditor, owed a final payment of $7 million. This filing was the first public thread that documented the secret financial relationship, allowing Torre to begin his investigation. The very fraud that the Clippers now claim victimized them is what prevented their own alleged circumvention from remaining a secret. The smoking gun, following the money. The climax of Torre's investigation is a meticulous timeline of financial transactions that strongly suggest a direct effort by the Clippers' ownership to funnel money to Leonard through the failing Aspiration. By late 2022, the broke company missed a scheduled $1.75 million quarterly payment to Leonard's LLC. Sources reported that Dennis Robertson was irate and aggressively pursuing the late payment. With Aspiration unable to pay, a solution materialized. On December 6, 2022, a mysterious LLC made its first and only investment into the company, $1.99 million. The amount was conspicuously close to the $1.75 million owed to Leonard. Just 9 days later, on December 15, 2022, Aspiration wired the late $1.75 million payment to Leonard. This payment was made on the very same day that Aspiration, citing a lack of funds, laid off 20% of its entire staff. Using financial documents, Torre's investigation traced the ownership of that mysterious LLC. Its owner was Dennis Wong, the Clippers' co-owner, alternate governor, and Steve Ballmer's close friend and college roommate. This transaction represents the smoking gun, a direct, traceable line from the Clippers' front office to a payment made to a superstar player, facilitated by a company that served as the team's sponsor. The sheer brazenness of the transaction, investing $1.99 million to cover a $1.75 million debt, was not a sophisticated act of money laundering, but a transparent bailout. This laziness suggests a belief that their actions would never face serious scrutiny. This pattern of behavior continued. Torre's reporting revealed that Ballmer himself made another $10 million investment in March 2023, again coinciding with the payment window for Leonard. Even more bizarrely, in December 2024, long after the Clippers had severed ties with Aspiration and a full 10 months after the federal government's fraud investigation into Sandberg was made public, Ballmer donated $1.875 million to one of Sandberg's personal charities. The reckoning. Deny, deny, deny. The official response. In the face of this mountain of documentary evidence, the Clippers, Steve Ballmer, and Kawhi Leonard have adopted a simple and unified stance: deny everything. Both the team and Leonard have stated that they welcome the NBA's investigation and are confident they will be fully exonerated. Leonard publicly dismissed Torre's reporting as clickbait and conspiracy theories, stating flatly, "None of us did no wrongdoing." Clippers president of basketball operations, Lawrence Frank, issued a staunch defense of his owner, calling Steve Ballmer one of the best and most honorable people I've ever met, and someone who constantly reminds us to stay on the right side of the rules. These statements, however, stand in stark contrast to the documented financial trail, particularly the Dennis Wong payment, for which the organization has yet to offer any public explanation. Furthermore, this defense of honorability is undermined by the organization's own history. The Clippers were fined in 2015 for offering an improper endorsement deal to then free agent DeAndre Jordan, demonstrating a prior willingness to bend league rules and player recruitment. The NBA has launched a formal investigation into the matter, and the potential penalties are severe. The historical precedent for punishment in cases of salary cap circumvention is the 2000 Minnesota Timberwolves scandal involving player Joe Smith. In that case, the league discovered an under-the-table agreement to reward Smith with a future lucrative contract in exchange for signing for less money in the short term. Then Commissioner David Stern came down with extraordinary force, fining the team $3.5 million, suspending the owner for a year, and, most critically, stripping the franchise of multiple first-round draft picks. This case remains the benchmark for this type of offense and proves that the league has, in the past, treated salary cap circumvention as an existential threat to its competitive balance. The current situation now serves as a profound test for NBA Commissioner Adam Silver and the integrity of the league itself. As Pablo Torre has framed it, the core question is whether the NBA is a, quote, serious league. He has reported that at least 4 other NBA owners believe it would be, quote, absurd if the league failed to punish the Clippers in a manner proportional to the evidence. This scandal is more than a referendum on one team's actions. It is a referendum on the NBA's modern power structure. The league is now dominated by a new class of hyper-wealthy, quote, titans of industry like Steve Ballmer, whose personal wealth and influence far exceed those of previous generations of owners. These owners are peers who may be reluctant to see one of their own punished so severely, as it could set a precedent that might one day be turned against them. Commissioner Silver, who works for the owners, faces a far more complex political challenge in levying a punishment than David Stern did 2 decades ago. The outcome of this investigation will reveal whether the NBA's rules apply equally to all 30 franchises, or if its wealthiest and most powerful owners now operate under a different, more lenient set of standards. In an era where accountability journalism is in decline, one reporter's dogged pursuit of documents has forced a multi-billion-dollar league to confront a crisis of its own making. The evidence is on the table, and the world is watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Let me know if you've missed this kind of journalism from Pablo Torre. Thanks for watching.